tense and terrific episode written by Theodore Sturgeon, Amok Time, had its initial debut at the 1967 World Science Fiction Convention in New York City. It was personally introduced by Gene Roddenberry himself and sated the appetites of Spock fans who were looking forward to seeing an episode that took place on his home planet Vulcan. Amok Time contains one of the biggest Star Trek bloopers. While Spock is under the influence of blood fever, the close-ups clearly show him deep in the throes of it. But when the scene switches to long shots of Kirk with Spock in the background, one can see the Vulcan casually leaning against the wall, quite unaware that the cameras were rolling. Upon realizing that the scene was indeed being taped, you can then see Spock scurrying back to his mark. Sometimes these things happen.
Mr. Sulu, you don't think...
The reason for the introduction of the character was very pragmatic. They were looking for the 8 to 14-year-olds to tune in to Star Trek. And they wanted somebody who presented, and I use the word presented advisedly, a young image.
You desire something, Lord?
Oh, yes, thank you.
And who would have an appearance that would be reminiscent of the pop image of the time, most accurately represented by the monkeys.
Hey, we're the monkeys!
And particularly Davy Jones.
I think I'm going to get spacesick.
He was represented as kind of a spunky...
Chekhov here.
Mr. Chekhov.
Post-adolescent, a groovy kind of a character.
Hey!
So it's a very almost capricious or superficial reason. But on such things does life, revolve. My hair had been very short at the time, and again, they were looking for somebody who would more closely approximate the current fashion, best represented by the kids on the monkeys. So they had a long wig. It was a woman's wig. We went up to Max Factor. We came back with 4 or 5 wigs, blonde, red, brunette, curly, straight, bangs. And after I tried them on, then all the executives tried it on, which was rather curious and made me wonder just what I was getting into. But ultimately, they decided to go with a brunette wig, woman's wig, which I wore for, I think, 6 episodes until my own hair grew out.
Fascinating, 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 fascinating.
I'm Leonard Nimoy, and you're watching Star Trek on the Sci-Fi Channel. To this day, images from that show crop up around the world. Spock doing this, and live long and prosper, and the whole idea of the magic, the mystery of Vulcan. I saw a billboard a couple of weeks ago, one of these very large billboards in Hollywood for an auto lube company that said "Lube long and prosper," and you get it. You know what the origin is.
This story is about loyalty and desire. These all too human emotions are lost on the people who've evolved out of any kind of emotional life. Many of the customs and conventions of Spock and his fellow Vulcans were actually contributed by Leonard Nimoy himself, such as the Vulcan greeting. I can't do it. Leonard was absolutely thrilled to shoot this episode, especially when it came to doing the fight scene with Kirk. He made many worthwhile suggestions, like in the jaw, to this exciting episode.
I'm trying to thank you, you pointed-eared hobgoblin.
Oh, yes, you humans have that emotional need to express gratitude. You're welcome, I believe, is the correct response.
I found that particularly intriguing as an actor because it gave me an immediate drama to play, a personal drama to play, and a personal dynamic to be working on all the time.
The release of emotions, Mr. Spock, is what keeps us healthy. Emotionally healthy, that is.
Little by little, I began to understand that it was possible to play the suppressed emotion and give the audience an occasional peek through the writing or through performance at the struggle that this character was having.
I burn to pow.
And I think many people identify with this. I think it's a very human character in a way. I've said this before. He's referred to as the alien. He's referred to as the stoic Vulcan.
I suppose most of us overlook the fact that even Vulcans aren't indestructible.
But he's a very human character. I think audiences understand that and enjoy it.
Are our ceremonies for outworlders?
Celia Lofsky, the actress who was playing T'Pau, she couldn't do it. Her fingers just wouldn't get into that position. We helped her. We got her in a position where she could get her fingers in the right position and hold them that way with her other hand in her lap. And at the appropriate moment, she was ready. So she didn't have to worry about getting them in a position they were. All she had to do was keep them that way. And fortunately, she was able to do that. And at the appropriate moment, she raised her hand into camera, and it was there, and we had it.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper arrived on the page in the episode called Amok Time.
It is the pon farr, the time of mating.
Then there's a fight to the death, and Kirk is dead.
It's finished.
And a great moment where Spock comes to T'Pau at the end of the story. He thinks it's the end of the story, and she says to him, this wonderful actress, Celia Lofsky, played this part with such dignity and power. She said,
Live long and prosper, Spock.
He says,
I shall do neither. I have killed my captain and my friend.
well, even as I say it now, I remember the day. It was so painful. It was such a touching scene to play.
Among the favorite shows of Star Trek fans, Amok Time contains many firsts. It was the first episode in which Spock utters the phrase, "Live long and prosper." It was also the first time viewers had ever been to Vulcan. And when Spock realized that he has not killed Kirk, the relief he expresses is the first time he exhibits any emotional display without being under some alien influences. These complexities added a lot to this episode and helped further define Spock's character.
Toward the end of Star Trek's first season, it became apparent that Mr. Spock was a bit of a phenomenon. My fan mail was coming in sacks, and fans clamored to learn more about the stoic Vulcan. The second season produced several episodes in which we delved more into Spock's background. In Journey to Babel, we get to meet Spock's parents, and in This Side of Paradise, his lost love. Both of these episodes shed light on the Enterprise's enigmatic first officer. But the episode that stands out as a favorite for both the fans and myself is Theodore Sturgeon's riveting story of Vulcan passion, Vulcan tradition, and Vulcan love. Amok Time. As a young boy, I was brought up in the traditions of Orthodox Judaism. During the high holiday services, when the rabbi would bestow his blessings on the congregation, he recited a prayer while holding his hands out over our heads. He would split his fingers in a sort of a W shape, which corresponded to the Hebrew letter Shin, which was a symbol for the name of God. Now, during all of this, you were supposed to have your head bowed and your eyes closed. But being a kid and being curious, I peeked. And this is what I saw. When we were producing Amok Time, I realized we needed some sort of way for Vulcans to greet each other. So out of my childhood came what has since become known as the Vulcan Salute, and the words, "Live long and prosper," became part of Star Trek lore. When I was told that we'd be doing an episode in which we'd go back to Vulcan, I was immediately intrigued and hopeful. The script delivered everything that I might have wished for. Theodore Sturgeon wrote a wonderful, interesting, and poetic plot, and Joseph Pevney's direction was, as usual, at its theatrical best. Amok Time represents for me not only a high point in my experience as Spock in Star Trek, but also one of the highest points in my acting career.